of Mayor in Miami. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Indeed
Thank
a
you.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Tell us first of all, now there are those who might look at you and say, wow, congratulations, it's a real honor to have someone of the soil taking on such a mammoth task. Would you see this, or are you seeing this as a mammoth task, or are you seeing this as something that you really have to do, not just for yourself, but for the people of Miami?
To be honest, I think of it more than a task. I think that we need leadership in Miami. I feel that I represent a true Miami, not just one demographic, but all citizens, Caribbean, black, Jewish, white, Cuban, South American. Because what we have locally here is a mixture. And what better known locally, colloquially, is Callaloo. It's a mix-up. It's a mixture of people who embrace the positives and the goodness in each other. And I feel that we, the citizens of Miami, need so much more. We have come to live with so much less. But as time goes on, we understand that now is that time. That now is that period of time when we can say, Jeff Benjamin should be running for mayor. We support him because he represents our vision, our goals, our ideas. And that is something that was lost for a while in Miami. We became #1 in fraud in the world.
Wow.
For the last, I think it was 10, 15 years. And that's a stigma that I would like to remove from the city of Miami.
Let me just stick up in for a second. You said #1 in fraud. What about the dynamics about Miami? It made it so easy for fraud to be such a problem. If you care to go into any detail about that.
And I would briefly.
Sure, no problem.
What has happened is, over the years, a number of people have moved to Miami. And so the borders were lax because it's the closest point to get into North America from other countries in the Caribbean and South America. And not to say that these people were bringing anything that was overtly bad in nature, but a lot of illegal drugs, as we know, which is factual, came in, a lot of guns, and so we've strengthened our borders. The president has made sure that we put things in place to make Miami safer, to make South Florida a better place. But prior to that, all these drugs and guns came in and influenced and infiltrated our society. And now we have to pick up the pieces. And I've taken that responsibility. I've taken it on my shoulders, and I see myself not just a representative of Trinidadian, but as a representative of all of Miami, all the Caribbean, all the people who live in Miami, the citizens of Miami. And I want to be that icon, that person who changes that fraud, that person who changes the way we think, that social mentality that says, we have come to accept less, but now we will accept more. Now we will do better. Now we will make that change. Now we are in position to become better citizens and better people.
No. And of course, what led you into this field of politics?
My background in politics, it's a bit extensive, and it's a long tenure to get to where I am right now. But to be brief and to fulfill to the citizens and to the people who are watching what I do and why I do what I do. I started becoming involved in politics, I think, early to mid 1990s. And I met a young man. His name was John F. Kennedy Jr. He started a magazine called George, and I was his waiter. I was at Madison Square Garden. And he said to me, "You have so much more to offer the world." And I was going to College of Aeronautics at the time, and I said to myself, me, Jeff Benjamin, this kid from Arima, really? I have so much more to offer the world? Okay, great, but enlighten me. And he did enlighten me. And he taught me to take these opportunities, embrace these opportunities that come before you. We're all not meant to be rappers and basketball players and singers and entertainers. But in there, in your very fiber of your soul, with your education and your background and who you are, you can take that to the highest level. Because if you truly believe, and you want to believe, the foundation that was laid by your parents can propel you to heights unknown to you. And after speaking with John and him helping me move to Chicago, I went to school. I became a technician. I started med school. I met Judge Eugene Pincham, who was one of the first black appellate judges. And that's how I wrote the book, Juvenile Injustice. And he said to me at the time, there were 2 young boys, 7 and 8, who became the youngest accused murderers in the history of the United States. Just think of it, fathom it. If you're a parent and you're sitting out there, look around your home. See your 6, 7, or 8-year-old walking around your house and say to yourself, how can my child at 6, 7, or 8, because the young man had just turned 7, be accused of rape and murder? But our judicial system, which at times I say is self-correcting, but at times needs amendments, and this will go back to the Trayvon Martin thing, which we'll get to in a second.
Sure, not a problem.
But it needed amending because 7 and 8 years old, you cannot be incarcerated, you cannot be put in jail. And in my belief system with Judge Pincham, and having been with John, and he had passed away at the time, but had already laid the foundation of what I believe in, of my political career, of where I was going, of all the attributes that make men believe in something that's good-natured. And I said to Judge Eugene Pincham, I stand with you. I do not believe 7 and 8 years old young men or young boys can commit rape and murder. And so we fought the system. And it's on, you know, if you have some time, go to Jeff Benjamin for mayor.com or go to my Facebook page. Judge Eugene Pincham, before he passed away in 2008, what he did was help me change those laws. And we changed the laws in Illinois, Judge Eugene Pincham and I. The laws were changed to benefit minors 7 and 8. And to me, at the end of the day, that is my legacy. Doesn't matter what happens, but we helped an entire nation of people. We helped we sacrificed for, no one would publish the book. The funny thing is we had the book, and people said, well, nobody wants to hear about a 7 and 8 year old murder.
Criticisms all over.
Why would you write a book about that? But it was bringing to the forefront the social injustice that had took place.
And I think that's what's important as a politician. I think that is the fear factor that many of the quote-unquote older heads, that they're afraid to challenge the status quo. They're afraid to there's something called this paradigm shift. They're afraid of change. And the thing is, such a young man challenging the system, you know, this was really commendable indeed. And take us to the book, Juvenile Injustice, the Chicago story. Give us a little breakdown about the book itself and what it really was all about.
Well, as we go into it, and I talk about the 2 young men charged for murder, 7 and 8. I remember walking into the judge's courtroom, and we sat there and we listened to Judge Zenwick, I think it was his name. I can't remember at this point in time. But we were there, and we were sitting there thinking the specimens that we're taking at the time could not have come from these young boys. And so we thought, we will fight this to the very end. And it turned out that the mayor at the time, Mayor Daley, and he was a great mayor, it's just that he was misguided, went out and said, well, we've captured the killers. And we said, no, you have not. And when they did find, after the DNA testing came back, it turned out to be Floyd and Fred Durr, 2 brothers in their 30s who were gangbangers who had been committing rape and murder on the south side of Chicago for over an 8-year period. So not only were we right, Judge Pincham and the attorney, because I was not part of the actual legal process, I was more involved in writing the book, but they got these boys free, and they got a $6 million verdict. But I want to say one thing. Money is not the root of all evil, as people say, but money is corruptible, and it corrupts, it corrupts your vision, it blinds you. And even though those boys got $6 million, one of them is incarcerated now for life because the time he spent in jail had destroyed his mental psyche. Wow. And so no amount of money in the world can give you clarity, no amount of money in the world can give you vision. And I say this to politicians so that they can understand, not just locally but worldwide. When you go into service, you serve the people. That is it. There is no high math to this. You are there to serve the constituents, and they're not your constituents. You are working for them.